All right, let's dig in. Today, we're getting our hands dirty, so to speak, exploring India's most vital sector, agriculture. This is way more than just farming. It's the engine that feeds over 1 billion people and really forms the foundation of the entire nation's economy and culture.
So, to kick things off, let's just start with a number that's pretty hard to wrap your head around. 2/3. Seriously, think about that. 2 out of every 3 people in India's massive population are involved in agriculture. The scale is just immense.
And because of that scale, it's not just another industry, it's the country's primary activity. It produces most of the food that's eaten right there in India, and on top of that, it provides the essential raw materials for countless other industries.
What this really means is that agriculture is woven into the very fabric of daily life. From the food on your plate to the cotton in your clothes, even the tea or coffee you might be drinking right now, it all starts in the fields of India.
Okay, so let's get into how this whole massive system actually works on the ground. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. Not at all. In fact, you can really see 3 very, very different faces of farming across the country.
And we're going to start with this quote about a young girl named Rinja in Assam. It paints such a vivid picture of the most ancient form of farming that's still around today: primitive subsistence farming. It's a life that is completely tied to the rhythms of nature.
This whole slash and burn idea, it's a system that's designed purely for survival. A family will clear a small patch of land, grow just enough to feed themselves, and then, once the soil's natural fertility runs out, they move on. They let that patch of land slowly recover, all on its own.
Now, this table does a great job of laying out the 3 main types of farming side by side. On the far left, you've got that low-tech subsistence farming we just talked about. In the middle, there's intensive subsistence farming. This is what you see in really populated areas where farmers have to squeeze every last drop of produce out of tiny plots of land. And then, on the other end of the spectrum, you've got the modern, profit-driven world of commercial farming.
And this is where agriculture and big industry really meet. Commercial farming is all about scale. It uses high-yield seeds, fertilizers, and modern machines to grow a single crop. We're talking about those huge, sprawling tea plantations in Assam or the coffee estates in Karnataka, all of it designed to sell on the market.
So you have to wonder, right? How does a single country manage this enormous effort, with all these different systems running at once? Well, the answer isn't in some central government plan. It's in nature itself. The entire system follows the rhythm of the land and the sky, organized into these really distinct seasons.
I mean, with a country as diverse as India, you've got everything from the Himalayas to tropical coasts. You'd think it would be total chaos, but it's not. The whole agricultural calendar is actually built pretty elegantly around a pattern of 3 distinct cropping seasons, all dictated by one major event, the monsoon.
And this just lays out that cycle perfectly. First up is Kharif, which is the monsoon season crop. You plant it in early summer and harvest in the fall. Then you've got Rabi, the winter crop, which goes in the ground in the fall and gets harvested in the spring. And squeezed in between, there's a short, hot summer season called Zaid, which is perfect for really fast-growing stuff. Now, it's this seasonal rhythm that allows India to produce such an unbelievable variety of crops. I mean, everything from the basic foods that sustain the population to the raw materials that fuel its biggest industries. And of course, first and foremost, you have the staple food crops. These grains are the absolute bedrock of the nation's diet and its food security. The 2 giants, of course, are rice and wheat, and they're perfect examples of how this seasonal system works. Rice is a Kharif crop. It loves the high heat and the heavy rains of the monsoon, which is why it's the staple food in the east and south. Wheat, on the other hand, is a Rabi crop. It prefers a cooler growing season, making it the go-to staple in the north and northwest.
But it is so much more than just grains. This chart gives you a quick snapshot of the incredible diversity here. The agricultural basket is filled with everything from protein-packed pulses and essential cooking oil seeds to world-famous drinks like tea and coffee, and of course, critical fiber crops.
And that brings us to another category: the crops that are grown not just for food, but as the raw materials that actually power some of India's biggest industries. For example, you've got cotton, which is basically the lifeblood of the massive textile industry. There's jute, which is nicknamed the golden fiber, and it's essential for things like bags and ropes. Sugarcane, of course, feeds the sugar industry. And rubber is a critical industrial raw material. So agriculture is a direct, absolutely essential partner to manufacturing. So, all of this brings us to a final, really crucial question.
How does a system that has roots stretching back thousands of years adapt to the huge challenges of the modern world? How does it cultivate a sustainable future?
Here's the core challenge. When you use land for centuries and centuries, without updating your technology or your institutions, you hit a wall. For a population that's constantly growing, just relying on the monsoons and natural soil fertility, well, it's just not going to cut it.
And the government has recognized this, rolling out reforms in waves. Right after independence, the big focus was on land reform. Then, in the 60s and 70s, came the famous Green Revolution, which was a huge technological push to boost crop yields. And more recently, there's been a much more comprehensive approach, combining both tech and institutional support.
These modern reforms are all about creating a safety net for farmers. They give them access to loans, they provide crop insurance against disasters, they deliver real-time information through weather bulletins, and they create price security with a minimum support price, which helps protect them from being exploited in the market.
But maybe the most inspiring story of reform didn't come from the government at all. It came from the people themselves. It all started when a follower of Gandhi, a man named Vinoba Bhave, was asked by some landless villagers for help. And as you can see in this quote, one landowner just stood up and voluntarily offered up his land.
That single act sparked a whole nationwide movement called Bhudan, which means land gift. Vinoba Bhave literally walked across India, just inspiring landowners to voluntarily gift some of their land to those who had none. It was this incredibly powerful social reform driven entirely by conscience, and it earned the name the Bloodless Revolution.
So, from the ancient slash-and-burn plots of families like Rinjas, to the technological push of the Green Revolution, and to the social conscience of the Bloodless Revolution, the story of Indian agriculture is one of constant evolution. It's a story of incredible resilience, and it leaves us all wondering, what will the next great leap forward need to be?